Greetings brothers, today we're going to talk about objective secured and just how much of it you actually need in a 9th edition list for the Blood Angels. Welcome to the weekly tactics video. I'm John, the Blood Angels Commander, and if you'd like to see more Blood Angels content every week here on YouTube, then please consider subscribing. So today we're looking at just how much Obsec you actually need in a 9th edition list to be competitive. We're going to look at some examples from like tournament winning lists, we're going to look at a couple of lists that I've been running in 9th edition, we're just going to dive in and we're going to look at everything. So as always, the videos are timestamped so you can jump to whatever point you're interested in, and if you do know what objective secured is, then you can probably just jump straight over part 1, but let's get into it anyway and just make sure everyone's on the same page. So what exactly is objective secured? And lifted right out the rules, the wording of it is as this. So some units have an ability called objective secured. A player controls the objective marker if they have any models with this ability within range of that objective marker. Even if there are more enemy models within range of that objective marker that do not have objective secured. So a single objective secured troop model will control an objective against as many non-objective secured models as the enemy has on it. However, if any enemy model within range of that objective marker also has the ability objective secured or similar, then the objective marker is controlled by the player who has the most models within range of that objective marker as normal. So, and then within Blood Angels armies, troop units have the objective secured ability. So that is tactical squads, assault intercessors, infiltrators and incursors. So there's 5 choices of objective secured units that you can run in a Blood Angels army. Now, why is this important? Well, when you're building your detachment, and I guess when you're looking at other stuff like warlord traits, relics, stratagems, objective secured can account for half the points you get in the battle, right? The maximum you can get from a battle is 90 points. 45 of those are scored from primaries. Usually it's a case of hold 1 primary for 5 each turn, hold 2 for 10, and hold more than the enemy for 15. There is some variation on that, but that is the general gist of it. So you need to be holding objectives every turn to get up to that 45 points. The way I like to look at it is hold 2 for the whole game, that gets you 40. And I think if you score 40 on your primaries, you're in a very strong position to move into the secondary game. So try and hold 2 for the whole game, and if you can sneak a turn when you hold more, then great. That's all you need to do to hold your primaries. Don't overcommit trying to hold multiple more than the enemy in multiple turns. Don't spread your forces too thin, but that is how primary scoring works. So to make our detachments then, to include objective secured choices, quite often people run battalion detachments, and battalion detachments require you to have 3 troop choices minimum. So if we talk about controlling 2 or 3, it seems like that makes a lot of sense. Now, a patrol detachment is a smaller detachment, but you can fit 2 of them nicely into a 2,000 point battle, and 2 patrol detachments, each one of these detachments will need 1 troop choice as well. So you can do 2 objective secured units. And then the third option, I suppose, would be to take a patrol and a vanguard list. The one downside of having 2 patrol detachments is you only get 2 elite slots in each patrol detachment, so you're capped at like 4 elite units. Whereas if you take the patrol and vanguard, you essentially get 8 elites. And normally, when people are building Blood Angels lists, they're trying to get a ton of elites into those lists. I do that myself, and the advantage of the patrol and the vanguard means you just need 1 troop choice. Leaves you a little bit light on objective secured, but it does let you load your list up with elites and do a lot of damage that way. So that's kind of why I wanted to look into this, just to see what our options are and to see what I would advise going forward as you build lists. As tournaments and coronavirus starts to drop off, then as tournaments come back, let's talk about exactly how much I think you need objective secured wise. So once you've picked your detachment and you've chosen your troops, bear in mind these are minimum troop requirements. You can't add more troops if you want to some of these other detachments, as long as you meet the other criteria within building those detachments, i.e. like a battalion detachment needs a certain number of HQ, vanguard detachment I believe needs 3 elites, etc. So warlord traits that mess or add Obsec, and there is one, and it is called Rites of War, and it's in the Space Marine Codex, and it basically means any core unit or any character unit within 6 inches of your warlord gets objective secured. We also have one from the Blood Angels Codex, which is a relic, and it's Visage of Death, and it's an aura. While any enemy models are within 3 inches of this character, they lose the objective secured or anything similar that allows them to control the objective regardless of the number of enemy models within that. And then finally, there is also a stratagem for Reavers called terror troops, and until the start of the command phase, while an enemy is within 3 inches of that unit, it loses the objective skewered ability. Now, for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to go any further on the Reavers. If you want to run Reavers, go ahead. We have a running joke on this channel that the best thing about Reavers is their helmets. You buy the box, you convert them. Like, no one runs Reavers. They look like they were going to be a big thing. They aren't, so run Reavers at your own peril, I guess. But yeah, I'm not going to touch any more on Reavers. So we're basically going to focus on troops, Rites of War, and Visage of Death. And these are our choices to essentially score those primaries and do well with objective skewered. Now, if you're new to the channel, you might not know that every Sunday we do a live show where we look at 5 lists that have been submitted by the community. You know, we have 5,000 subscribers here, so we do get a lot of list submissions, and we look at all those lists, and one of the criteria for the list submitted is obviously objective holding and Obsec. And every week we score them out of 10, and it is 1/5 of your total score for your list. So I've put down my scoring criteria here on how many points I would give you if you submit a list to me based on Obsec, right? So it's very simple. If you have 3 units of Phobos troops, and I do think Phobos troops are the best troop choice in 9th edition, I'll give you 8.5 out of 10. If you want to know why they're the best, then we'll link the Phobos Infiltrator video up above. If you just have 3 troop choices and one of them is Phobos, you'll get an 8 out of 10. If you have 3 troop choices and none are Phobos, you're going to get 7.5. 2 troop choices will give you 7, and 1 will just give you 6.5. I mean, there could be a bit of variance in there. Again, if they're not Phobos, maybe you only deserve a 6. Trust me on the Phobos thing. Go read Guerrilla Tactics, watch some of my live videos that come out every Monday, the battle reports. Guerrilla Tactics scores us so many points with the Phobos troops. It's so important, or maybe it's not important, it's just awesome, right? So yeah, Guerrilla Tactics, Phobos units, it's amazing for scoring you points in games. Definitely check it out. Now, so once you've picked those number of troops, then we look at the relics and the warlord trait. And for Rites of War, we're going to give you 1 point as well. For Visage of Death, we'll give you 1 point as well. And I guess if you've got Reavers, we will give you 1 point as well. I know I said I was going to stop talking about them on the last slide. I promise you that is the end of the Reavers in this video. You know, we'll give you a point for having Reavers, but it's 2 CP. It's ridiculous how expensive that stratagem is. So yeah, we're done with Reavers. So I guess, like, if you decided to build a battalion detachment, you put 3 Phobos troops in there, you grab Rites of War, you're going to hit 9.5 out of 10 in my scoring category. Just bear in mind that to do that, you're maybe going to have to score lower in other areas. So there's a very fine line. No list has ever scored 50 points out of 50. Most lists, I think the best list we've ever seen was a tournament winning list, and I think it scored 44. We actually got a 46 point list before, but it didn't quite. I think it came 3rd in a tournament. So, yeah, so I guess there's a balance to be had with Obsec, like how much do you actually need, and that's what we're here to find out today. So, as I say, the $1 million question is Obsec, and just how much of it do you need? And I have been fighting battles live on this channel now for, I think, probably like 9 months. It was only a couple of months after 9th edition dropped that this channel started, and in that time we've run battalions, we've run the double patrol, and currently we're running the patrol and the vanguard. So we've tried it all. So I'm going to try and share some of the learnings and some of the thoughts that I have on this. So, battalion, I guess it's like a really safe choice with a battalion, especially if you pick those 3 Phobos troops, right? Especially with them starting with concealed positions, give you a huge edge here in terms of like battlefield control. You can also start some of those Phobos units in different board quarters for engaging all fronts, or other secondaries that you might want to score. But just as well as all that, you know, the concealed positions really means that you're going to have a good presence on objectives. You can be difficult to shift because you're Phobos troops, right? You can pop smokescreen, and then, you know, we're Blood Angels, so it's not often that we get charged by the enemies. And I found in some matchups the battalion was super strong. You know, like, you would score very well on your primaries, and you'd score pretty decent on secondaries just because you've got all those troops as well to perform actions with them. However, in some of the more faster and elite matchups, I actually find my Phobos units getting picked off without doing too much in terms of like return fire. And for example, combining Rites of War here could give us some amazing scoring, but like the 3 troop choices don't give so much in terms of killing power. Now, I guess you could argue that Assault Intercessors would bring some more power to your troop choices than the Phobos units. The problem I have with Assault Intercessors is far too often for me they get picked off moving through the open, right? Everything else in my army is going to be fast and mobile for the most part, so they're going to jump from cover to cover. So if you only have, let's say, Assault Intercessors, you're going to end up with them not in cover, because they're the one unit that can't use the jump pack, and likely they're going to get shot, and as such, they're not going to do much. And you could argue that it's not important if the enemy are going to use all their shooting on like a 95 point squad, I think is the cost of Assault Intercessors, but at the same time, because of that, I just never felt like I got value out of them, whereas I felt like I always get value out of the Phobos, even if they do not as much damage. So that's why I recommend the Phobos, and the battalion I think is decent. I've got nothing against people playing as battalions. I think it's decent, but I do think there's some better options as it stands right now. So I had a bit of success with the double patrol list, and that was, for me, the two troop choices were 2 squads of infiltrators, and that still gives you a huge amount of screening you can do with their 12-inch bubble, especially like for me personally, I'm running a whirlwind as well, so when you put the whirlwind into the backfield as well, you can screen plenty of space out with those infiltrators. And what's really interesting is if you watch the tournament winning list, the grand tournament winning list from just a few weeks ago, again I'll link the video up here, you'll see that the winning list in that tournament, the Blood Angels list, was the double patrol variant, and he did have Rites of War added to it to, you know, sort of grant it a little bit more pressure and Obsec, and that list did have a lot of Sanguinary Guard, so obviously like the Bite Captain with Rites of War and all the Sanguinary Guard, being able to flip an objective against an enemy is pretty strong. And the double patrol list, even though you are limited in terms of 4 elites, I think you can make that work right now because Inceptors are so good, Eradicators are so good, the Whirlwind is almost core right now. So, you know, you're going to have to take some fast attack bikes as well. So you can bump out the list now with fast attack choices, heavy support choices, so we can sort of get away with those 4 elites. And yeah, I mean, I think the double patrol is definitely a valid choice. I think when we said like 2 squads of troops and Rites of War gives you 8 out of 10. I think if you're around an 8 out of 10 on Obsec, you're probably in a pretty good position. You know, you're able to hold your 2 objectives reliably. That's all we need to do to get the 40 points throughout the game, and then maybe try and contest one from the enemy. However, me personally, recently, we've been running 1 patrol and 1 vanguard, and we've been running a single infiltrator squad, and we've been running no relics or warlord traits that grant us Obsec. So just, it's kind of a weird one, right? Like, I've been trying to test that list. I mean, like I felt like it was a strong list. I felt like it was a very killy list, right? Like, you know, it had a boatload of elites in it. It does a lot of damage, and I was going to try and play around the raw damage and not worry too much about Obsec. You know, we talk about having the Whirlwind in our backfield holding our objective. We're not really going to be out Obsec'd back there, potentially. And we've got 1 squad of infiltrators that we can bounce around the table with guerrilla tactics, maybe getting another objective. So at that point, we're going to try and kill the enemy on any other objectives. And surprisingly, this list has done 11 wins in a row, and we've played everything from Custodies to World Eaters to Death Guard multiple times, Sisters of Battle. So we've been playing tier 1 lists, and I didn't change my list, and they knew what the list was, and they were trying to tweak and change their lists to beat it. And obviously, you know, they didn't manage that, and that was with my 1 single Obsec. We even played against the Necron Eternal Conquerors, where every single Necron unit counts for 2 Obsec units within objectives. Now, it didn't even matter because I didn't have any Obsec, so I basically had to kill every last Necron on the board to get the win, but we still did it. However, I do think that 1 Obsec unit and no Warlord trait or no relic is maybe a step too far for competitive play. I mean, it works in a sort of like our little gaming group, but at a tournament thing, I think you need either the 2 troop choices, or maybe you can make it work with Rites of War integrated into the Patrol and Vanguard. Now, obviously that's just me, how I feel right now and how I've been playing. And we do have some other tough games penciled in. We need to fight Dukari, we need to fight Admech, so we'll see how we do against those. But it is interesting to know that the Grand Tournament winning Blood Angels list just had 2 Infiltrator squads and Rites of War. So Can we maybe remove one of those infiltrator squads and just add more elites or add more killing power and do the same? I mean, that's what I'm going to try next, I think. But yeah, I mean, like, if I see some lists that get submitted to me with like 3 Obsec units and Rites of War and Visage of Death, and I'm thinking, like, I think that's way too much, right? Like, I think if you cannot hold enough to get your 45 points with primary at that point, you know, like, you're almost putting too many eggs into the Obsec basket, and you should be focusing more on bringing some more killing power. Because, you know, troops, they're troops for a reason, right? Elites are elites for a reason. Elites do more killing than troops in most situations. So, I mean, that's kind of where I've leaned to in my list, where it's like, it's jam-packed with elites. But, yeah, I mean, that's where we currently stand. So yeah, my list actually only has 6 elites. It's Sanguinary Guard, Vanguard Veterans, Blade Guard Veterans, 2 Redemptors, and the Centurions. So it isn't totally stacked with elites. I mean, you can get 6 elites in the battalion, but we do have 4 characters, and they're all kind of force multipliers. Maybe not the Death Company captain, but for the most part, the other 3 are definitely force multipliers. And, you know, having those 6 elites with the captains and the librarian and the priest to buff these guys and keep them alive and healthy. This gives me so much killing power that we kind of managed to remove a certain requirement of Obsec that you would see in most other games. So it's been at the forefront of my mind, really, Rites of War or Visage of Death. And if you think about it, Visage of Death is just 3 inches. If you sat your character on the objective, the 3-inch bubble, if his base doesn't 100% cover the objective, then potentially an enemy could just Obsec that away from you just by getting like 1mm into the 3 inches. And, you know, essentially the way that Blood Angels lists work are our characters will be on objectives and they will be killing things. So the chances of them actually being dead center of that objective or even close to the center may not be that likely, because the enemy's probably not going to, the enemy's going to know that, and they're going to probably position their guys where they're not going to leave you to be able to fight or do close combat right in the middle. So straight away that makes Visage of Death a little bit questionable for me, whereas Rites of War is a 6-inch bubble. So if you can, you can essentially be off the objective at that point, fighting another unit with your character, as long as a couple of your squad members are maybe daisy chained onto an objective or something, then you can Obsec it from the enemy. And it's important to note that the tournament winning list run that we reviewed just a few weeks ago did actually favour Rites of War here over Visage of Death. I do not think you need both of these. I kind of think it's a wasted relic. Like, I would much rather take another relic that gives me either more damage or more survivability. And I know Visage of Death does give you -1 to hit, but against certain armies that -1 to hit, and it's the same problem I have with Dante. You know, if someone's going to hit him with Power Fist, they're -1 to hit anyway, so it actually ends up giving you no benefit whatsoever. So, and it is only melee, the -1 to hit, unlike Dante's, which is ranged and melee. So Visage of Death for me is the weaker of the 2 choices. I like Rites of War a lot, and I mean, in some cases Rites of War is actually better because you could put it on your Warlord, you could Angel Exemplar and still take something like Gift of Foresight to still make him very strong and survivable and or fighty as well. You know, in my new list I'm planning to run a Bite Captain. You know, he's a toughness 5 with 6 wounds. We're probably going to run the Librarian Dreadnought, which is toughness 7 with 8 wounds and Duty Eternal. Either of these characters would be absolutely brilliant for Rites of War. They would, you know, they both have the potential to get like a 20-inch move each turn, but with the Librarian flying and the Bite getting that turbo boost. So I think Rites of War is definitely the one thing that I will be looking to add to my list, but I'm going to be keeping one troop choice for a little while. But I think it is important, and definitely if you haven't watched the tournament winning video from a few weeks ago, go watch that, because you know, I'm just playing at the moment. There's no tournaments going on here in the UK because of COVID. So if you want to see actually winning tournament list, then we've done a video on that. But if you want to have fun against your friends and still have that sort of deadly elite core, which I really love. I've been having a lot of fun with my elite core, and obviously my friends have not been, because none of them have figured out how to beat it. I think that one of the great strengths of the elite core is that Sanguinary Priest. We've never actually done a video on that Sanguinary Priest, but keeping your elites alive with that 6+ feel no pain and with those revives every turn and heals, it's kind of amazing. So yeah, I'm going to keep my elite core, try and bring in Rites of War and see how we get on with that. So yeah, I said earlier that I think in terms of scoring Obsec, if you want to have a good list, you probably want around 8 for Obsec as a minimum. I mean, maybe you can push it up to 9 if you want. And, you know, my choice of 1 troop unit and then Rites of War will give me a 7.5. So it may actually still be a little bit light, but it's important to note again that that tournament winning list did take the 2 troop choices and the Rites of War, pushing it to 8, which is pretty much exactly what I said. You limit how much you're spending on your Obsec, which you want to do because you need to still kill the enemy, you need to still get objectives, and infiltrators. In a Blood Angels army where you potentially just want to have a few cheaper units to hold objectives or screen out the opponent from certain parts of the board while you move around systematically killing with your elite core, then I think infiltrators are brilliant. I know a bunch of people prefer incursors, and incursors are fine. Like, I like them reasonably well, but I just, for me, the way I play a bit more defensively than most Blood Angels players, I definitely do not always make my lists to like always be charging. Any of my games, we will always have huge swings through turn 3, 4 and 5. The amount of times on stream on Monday nights people have said, like, I think just last week against like Necrons it was like Blood Angels Commander cannot bring this game back, and we won the game by a point. Against Sisters of Battle we were 35 victory points behind in turn 4 and we won the game as well. You know, like, we gear up to have those crazy swings when Savage Echoes is up and when we reach the end, you know, the end of the game, and we do that by building all my characters to be very survivable. So we're going to have to drop maybe a little bit of survivability somewhere to get Rites of War in, but maybe it means we won't be quite so far behind in the end game. I don't know. New list will be coming in a few weeks time, and you know, you'll be able to watch and see how the 7.5 score of Obsec will do, and I'll make a video on my previous list, and I'll make a video on the new list as well, and just sort of give you an overview of everything that we're doing in order to essentially try and win every game and annoy Andrew Collin and whoever else is on my channel. So a tiny little bit off topic, but to finish the video, I kind of wanted to just say that I don't believe Blood Angels are the crazy CP hogs that we were before, and I think this is one of the reasons why the double patrol or the patrol and vanguard work really well. Obviously, the double patrol costs 2 CP, the patrol and vanguard cost 3 CP, but they let you take and remove 100 points of models from your troop section and add them to your elite section. And you know, I've been starting my battles with 4 CP. Now I think 4 is a little bit low, but I think maybe starting with between 5 and 6 is absolutely fine. That gives you sort of 10 or 11 CP throughout the game, and I really think that there's almost no disadvantage to running either that double patrol or patrol and vanguard over a battalion now, right? The points you have to give up in terms of CP, I think it just adds much more killing, much more durability, more survivability, and more threats to the board. So overall, that's kind of where I am right now in terms of my list creation, and I hope that maybe helps you or gives you a little bit of insight onto why I think that's okay. So leave me a comment down below on if you're still going to run battalions or Visage of Death, or if there's anything you disagreed with. I answer every comment on this channel, so definitely love to hear from you. And also, if you want to support us in any way, there's a big join button underneath the YouTube video. You can just find it, you can click it, and you can support the channel for the price of a cup of coffee every month. We have various Blood Angels content and videos coming out. So, hope to see you all on Sunday on the live Army List show. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks ever so much for your support and for watching. By the blood are we made, brothers. Peace.